Oh boy, I'm not really sure how to phrase this without it sounding like a giant ad, but I also don't want to lie. I literally have never gotten a kill in the entirety of Zenless Zone 0 at Mindscape 0 within just 20 tries, and this time that is also with some time to spare. Not only is Dialyn extremely simple to play, she also fits into virtually every single Rupture and Attack team. So today, without glazing her too much during the actual guide, let's talk about her kit and how she plays, her best weapons, disk and disk sets, her main and substats, her teams and her Mindscapes, and lastly, let's also talk about her pros and cons. Welcome! I'm Rivenous and it's time to dial in for this complete XXL in-depth guide to Dialyn. Dialyn is a physical stun agent and the first non-DPS in a long time that does not have any off-field presence whatsoever. As per usual, Dialyn's kit looks far more complicated than it needs to be, so let's break it down for an easier understanding on how to actually play her. First up, Dialyn's impact is increased by 2 points for every 1% of initial crit rate that exceeds 50%, capped at 100% initial crit rate, up to an additional 100 combat impact. This is a bonus and not a requirement. Next, Dialyn has two unique resources: Positive Review and Customer Complaint. Both of them are indicated right below her HP bar, and Positive Review, that is the bar, can stack up to 120 points. Dialyn will slowly accumulate positive reviews while in combat at a rate of 0.6 points per second, and each of her EX specials, Rock, Paper or Scissors, will accumulate 7.5 points as well. This is surprisingly not a lot, and it will become very important later on during the build section. Lastly, when entering combat, she will start off with 60 positive reviews. Whenever Dialyn hits 90 positive reviews or she uses her own ultimate, Dialyn will then gain 1 customer complaint, indicated right here next to her positive review bar. It should be noted that her course description is yet again not really correct, as it states an ultimate, but factually, as seen in the footage right here, it is only her own. The maximum customer complaints she can hold is 1, and honestly, if your company tells you to only ever hold exactly 1 customer complaint, that is pretty questionable. Anyway, we will get back to her core and what we actually need her positive reviews for in just a bit. Dialyn features 4 EX specials, with the first 3 being Rock, Scissors and Paper, each costing 25 energy, and we are only able to cast them in that order. After casting her EX special Rock, it will then be replaced with her EX special Scissors, which in turn will be replaced with her EX special Paper for up to 8 seconds. When her EX special Paper hits an enemy, it will then apply a debuff on them called Malicious Complaint, which will extend their stun duration by 2.5 seconds and increase the stun damage multiplier by 30% until they recover from being stunned. It is important to note that this stun extension is not stackable with similar effects. This is important to note as it means that her stun extension does not stack with the likes of Yijuan's Mindscape 2 or also lighter. Her last EX special is called Get Lost, and it can be cast if Dialyn has a point of customer complaint. Again, that one is obtained by either hitting 90 positive reviews or triggering her own ultimate. She can then cast her EX special Get Lost once by holding her basic attack down, and this will consume said customer complaint and trigger then a quick assist to the previous character. If Dialyn has at least 90 points of positive reviews and she triggers a chain attack prompt using either her chain attack, held basic EX special or quick assist, she will then consume 60 points to upgrade the next incoming character's chain attack to an ultimate. If Dialyn has at least 90 points and casts her Health EX special without triggering a chain attack prompt, she will then consume 90 positive reviews to forcefully trigger a chain attack prompt and upgrade the next incoming character's chain attack into an ultimate as well. Dialyn is much more of a quick swap stunner, similar to Lighter, and because of that we might occasionally make use of her dodge counter and dodge. However, personally I did not really find myself using them more than maybe once, and they also just work as you would expect them to work, except her dodge counter can immediately be followed up with the 4th hit of her basic attack. The same can also be said for her quick assist, defensive assist and assist follow-up, as they will be all able to be used somewhere to some capacity, and her assist follow-up can be followed up with the 4th hit of her basic attack as well. Dialyn features a 4-part basic attack string, and even though her dodge counter and assist follow-up can be directly followed with the 4th hit of her basic attacks are honestly just meh. They do not really deal significant damage or daze, and their energy generation is suboptimal at best as well. But because of the attack string connections into her basic 4, we might occasionally use them. Additionally, after casting her EX special Rock or Scissors, she can press her basic attack to cast alternative basic attacks. The way this is worded, and the animations as well for that matter, are honestly slightly confusing, so let's break it down. Her alternative basics also have 4 hits. The first 2 hits are after EX special Rock, and the 3rd and 4th hit are after EX special Scissors. Because these are alternative basic attacks, they effectively replace the original hits in her basic attack string. Means her alternative basic 2 leads into her regular basic 3, however her alternative basic 4 can be followed up with her regular basic 4. Because she performs up to 2 attacks, that also means you have to press basic attack twice after each EX special. It is honestly not really worth doing it. Looking at it, the difference between simply spamming her EX 3 times in a row or going for a full combo of EX1, EB12, EX2, EB34, EX3 is like 10% more days. So unless you are a min-maxer or simply enjoy doing it, or you are missing a little bit of energy to cast the next EX special, I would hence just say forget her basics even exist. Dialyn's chain attack also does what a chain attack is supposed to do, and her ultimate ultimates, but at least her ultimate can be directly followed up with her basic 4 as well. Which also means we can now finish her kit overview with her additional ability. Dialyn requires either an attack or rupture agent, and that is easy enough of a condition to fulfill while making sure Miyabi yet again cannot profit from this. Casting either of her EX specials, Rock, Scissors or Paper will increase the crit damage dealt by those attacks by 50%, and when using any of her EX specials or her ultimate, she will then grant a buff to the entire team that increases their damage bonus by 40% for 15 seconds. Repeated applications can then extend this duration by 10 seconds up to a maximum of 35 seconds, and since we will always cast her EX special 3 times in a row, we also always will get to the maximum duration of 35 seconds. Lastly, the damage dealt of her EX specials Rock, Scissors and Paper is increased by a percentage equal to the preceding teammate's attack or sheer force, depending on whether or not they are an attack or rupture agent respectively, and this damage increase is additive to the skill's base damage. Very important, however, the keyword here being preceding, which means that Dialyn needs to be placed in the slot following your primary carry, which to be fair you wanna do anyway due to her quick assisting into the previous character. For a Seed Orphe team, for example, this would mean our team order would need to be Seed Dialyn Orphe, and for a Yijuan Lucia team it will need to be Yijuan Dialyn Lucia. The real annoyance will be if you do not have Lucia. This is because you cannot just do Yijuan Dialyn Panda, as you would not get Panda's buffs on Yijuan. And while you can do Yijuan Panda Dialyn, this will mean a lot less damage from Dialyn. Mind you that it isn't the end of the world, but it can be noticeable and should be mentioned. Anyway, that covers her kit. Let's summarize how we play her, because she is really simple when dumbed down. Since her buffs last for 35 seconds, we effectively get her on field when the enemy is at around 50 to 60% daze, then cast her EX special 3 times and switch her out. During the stun window, we then want to use either Dialyn's Health Basic EX Special or her chain attack to trigger a chain prompt, then select the carry we want to use the ultimate of. And effectively, on a basic level, that's it. Since nearly all of her decent damage comes from her EX specials, her skill priority will look as such. As a side note, her assist contribution will vary widely between different bosses, and as these calcs are based on the marionettes, they are inherently just slightly less of them. And hence, for her skill priority, we focus on her core first and foremost, then her EX special, followed by her chain, assist and basics, and lastly dodge. We can leave her dodge at level 1. Let's talk about her combos. Is what I would say, but she really does not have any meaningful combos outside of press EX 3 times, as the other variation is in my opinion not really worth it, so I will not go deeper over it. Instead, let's have a look at some gameplay and let me break down my thoughts behind it. As per usual with Lucia, I begin combat by casting her basic attack 5 times to trigger Ether Veil and the quick assist right when marionettes spawn. I then quick assist into Yijuan, use her EX special 3 times and continue basic attacking to restore adrenaline. I then parry the next incoming attack with her EX, but do not cast the third EX special to preserve adrenaline as we will need it later. I continue basic attacking and dodge counter for even more adrenaline generation, then parry once more the next incoming attack and yet again do not use her third EX special. Giving up some damage out of stun here is fine, as we really want as much adrenaline for the stun window as possible, as you will see in just a bit. When I hit about 60 adrenaline, I parry the next attack with Dialyn and then proceed to cast her EX 3 times to apply her buffs and debuffs, as well as generating enough positive reviews to now be above 90. I swap cancel the third attack into Lucia and cast her EX special into basic 5 to trigger Ether Veil and activate all of her buffs in preparation for the stun window. I quick assist into Yijuan, dodge counter once more, and now our adrenaline is looking really good. At 98 days, I then use Yijuan's Health EX special, and as soon as we hit 120 talismans, I talisman ultimate cancel the ball explosion. I wait out the chain prompt, then select Dialyn. This will grant us the buff from King of the Summit. I wait out the chain yet again and select Yijuan. Having more than 90 positive reviews means that Yijuan's chain will now become her ultimate instead. I then cancel the chain, use her Auric Array and then cancel the animation into her next ultimate. Now we can finish the stun window with 2 health basic EX specials. In total, we are left at about 24k points after the first stun, and we used 2 Decibel ultimates, 1 Talisman ultimate, 3 health EX specials and Auric Array all during a single stun. In addition, we did not play Yijuan differently than we usually do with Jufufu, and all we did on Dialyn was to cast her EX special 3 times and then use her chain once. This hopefully shows that even with the most basic inputs, especially on, like Dialyn, we did not even use, her little customer complaint point, you can, just kill, because this run is the thumbnail's 24k kill and you will find the full run at the end of the video in the showcase. With that said, let's talk a bit more about impact and energy regeneration on Dialyn, because if you saved a slot 6 impact disc for her, well, that's unfortunate for you. Because this will become important during the next sections, and I don't want to convolute those with this information, it deserves its own section. First, let's talk about impact. Because her talent ascension stat is actually crit rate, her base impact is very low, and since she also gains a lot of flat combat impact from her core, that means that impact and combat impact scale much worse on her. However, because of her getting essentially 100 combat impact for free, that still makes her impact stat very saturated. Because of that, days percent is actually the better stat on her and wins out over impact. Second, and spoiler, but we actually prefer energy regeneration in slot 6 over impact for most matchups and teams. The reason energy regeneration wins out over impact is primarily because of how team resources line up as well as her stun speed. When running impact in slot 6, you will be stunning nearly as fast with only 3 EX specials as you do with 6 EX specials when running energy regeneration. That means she does not have enough time to passively generate positive reviews, nor the energy to build enough positive reviews for every stun window. and without at least 90 points she cannot convert a chain attack into an ultimate. Since a lot of her power budget is allocated into her ability to do exactly that, we need to find a way to cast more EX specials for higher positive review generation, while also not stunning the enemy too quickly. And as you hopefully guessed correctly, energy regeneration does exactly that for us. Energy regeneration allows for double the amount of EX specials for most stun rotations, which in turn generate a lot more positive reviews without losing too much stun speed. This effectively makes sure that Dialyn always has enough points available for every single stun window. I found energy regeneration a lot better than impact in basically every team I tested, and those are basically all teams except for like 5 of them. More on that in the team section. However, I can see an argument for impact being better against bosses that either are physical resistant or have massively increased days bars, which in turn would mean that impact might become a little bit better in the future. As per usual, however, I recommend doing your own testing and basing your decision off that. Dialyn's signature is her best in slot option, as it easily allows her to cap out on her combat impact from her core due to the crit rate main stat it provides, while also buffing her with off-field energy regeneration, which again she really very much appreciates, as well as an up to 27% days increase, and as if that wasn't enough yet, also granting a 30% crit damage buff to the entire team. Unfortunately, that is also where her best choices end. Actually, singular, that is where her best choice ends. While for most agents, Blazing Laurel is often equal to or sometimes even better than their own signatures, at least in terms of days, this is not the case for Dialyn. Fossilized Core provides a lot of days, but it does not provide the crit rate her own signature gives, again which she needs to gain the flat combat impact from her passive, and since days does scale with impact, this makes it just a slightly worse choice. Personally, if you have it, I would recommend Hellfire Gears, as the off-field energy regeneration is very helpful for Dialyn, even if it provides less days than Laurel or Core does. Generally speaking, choose whatever you have available. Dialyn does not need her signature, but it is in fact just a massive help. As for the 4-piece, we are looking at King of the Summit, and I would not recommend anything else. Since we want to stack crit rate anyway, meeting King of the Summit's 50% crit rate condition is not much of an issue, as we will just approach close to 100% anyway. For the 2-piece, Woodpecker Electro is gonna be the best choice for most players, leaving you at 99.4% total crit rate with 12 crit rate substat rolls, and if you happen to have enough crit rate substat rolls, however, any of Shockstar Disco, Branch and Blade Song, Astral Voice, Fanged Metal, Hormone Punk, Buffer Electro, or even Swing Jazz or Moonlight Lullaby will all do well enough, or potentially even better. Crit rate in slot 4, attack percent in slot 5 and energy regeneration in slot 6 are her best choices, but pen ratio or physical damage in slot 5 will do as well. Again, her personal damage doesn't really matter too much, nor is the difference stark, so take whatever has better crit rate substat rolls. As previously explained in the Impact and ER section of the video, which you really should check out if you have skipped it because it is very important and the context for exactly this, energy regeneration is basically always preferable over impact due to her stun speed and positive review generation. I would not recommend impact in slot 6. As for her substats, focus on crit rate first and foremost until you are as close to 100% as possible, then focus on attack percent and crit damage, and lastly flat attack and flat pen. Her Mindscape 1 is honestly diabolical. Not only does it provide flat out 15% all attribute red shred to the entire team, but the 16% increased positive review accumulation can now also allow for up to 2 upgraded ultimates per stun window. Ever thought about how cool 4 Yijuan ultimates per stun window would be? Well, now you can. It also can allow you to run impact over energy regeneration in slot 6. However, the stunning too fast problem can become a problem here, so depending on the team, you might still want to run ER. Her M2 grants an additional 20% stun damage multiplier as well as a 15% damage bonus to the team, which honestly is pretty good, but it does have much less potential than her Mindscape 1. Her M3 and M5 exist, and her M4 grants her more personal damage, with the additional starting energy making it just slightly easier to minimize her field time. Her M6 grants a buff to allies that enter the field through their upgraded ultimate, and while buffed, when landing an attack, they will trigger an additional instance of physical damage based on 480% of Dialyn's attack, up to 12 times, and a maximum of once per second. While very strong in theory, it is still based on Dialyn's attack, and because of her core really wanting you to build crit rate, this additional damage will usually be rather low. A good stopping point is her Mindscape 1, and I would personally recommend her signature over any Mindscapes. Oh well, so technically, and practically as well to be honest, the Dialyn fits into literally every single attacker and Rupture team and will do well in them as long as the ultimate is a substantial part of their damage profile during stun. This means she is not the best choice for Sambi or Seed. But unfortunately, screen space is limited and your and my time is as well, so I will only list the ones I find the most notable and feel confident actually talking about. And hence a special shout out goes to Sujuan, Harumasa, Billy and Anton, who I don't know how to play to actually test them properly, and hence I would only give you a false impression. Please check out these creators on screen right now for more information on them, as I am sure they will be making content about these agents and are much better with them than I am. You will find a link to each of them in the description. To hopefully nobody's surprise, Dialyn works beautifully with Yejuan, Yetari and Manato as well, granting them an additional ultimate every stun window, which most of their damage comes from. Well, aside Yetari that is, but even for Yetari it is still a substantial damage gain. Unfortunately, however, Pan Yun-he quick assists into the previous character, and since Dialyn's EX special damage scales off the preceding attacker or Rupture agent's attack or sheer force stat, that effectively means Dialyn is gonna miss out on a lot of damage. In practice, this is not too much of a problem as her damage is somewhere around to the 4 million mark with and 3.2 million without. Effectively, this just means you are missing out on around 800,000 to 1 million damage, which to be honest is okay, but I feel like it should be mentioned. Evelyn also felt very nice to play with Dialyn, and I am actually pretty sure there are some new routes and stun combos that Dialyn opens up for her. I would not say that she is better than Lighter, but she feels like a somewhat good alternative to him, and to me she also felt better than Jufufu for this team. Yugo as well as Alan also massively profit of Dialyn, and especially with Yugo you get access to a lot more ultimates, which has a much higher damage scaling than his EX specials do. However, Yugo also does run double stun compositions, and because these stun teams, well, stun extremely quickly, you will not have enough positive reviews for every stun window. I honestly don't think that Dialyn is better than Lighter for Soldier 11, but the team still felt very nice to play, and especially if you do not have Lighter, Dialyn is a great choice, regardless of who takes the third spot. As a side note, with Dialyn, Heartstring Nocturne becomes even better of a choice on Soldier 11, as, surprise, we now get more ultimates to use. Corin, Neko and Billy also all profit of Dialyn massively as well, and while I will leave the actual strength evaluation to the people who can play them very well, at least during my Neko run it felt like she actually did something. And lastly, given the livestream, we at least can expect Banyohe to also work with Dialyn. But again, that is speculation, and until we are able to actually test and play Banyohe, we won't actually know. And with that said, let's finish the video with her pros and cons. Dialyn is incredibly simple to play, as she really only requires you to press her EX special thrice before each stun window to get everything out of her kit. However, she does have a little bit of optimization potential, and her skill ceiling is somewhere in the lower to middle end. Her skill level investment is relatively cheap as well, as she primarily cares about her EX special and maybe chain and ultimate, with her assist levels being nice to have, depending on the matchup however. She does like her signature, and while it isn't necessary for the first time ever, there is no alternative that can match it, simply due to the massive amount of ER that results in a much better positive review generation. On top of losing the 30% crit damage for the team, that is. Her Mindscape 1 is fantastic, but not necessary, and her M2 to M6 are just really nice to have at best. She has an incredible amount of team options, quite literally fitting into most attack and rupture teams while also being the best in slot choice for quite a few of them. And lastly, she is honestly really pretty cute and also has a lot of meme potential. And with that, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for dialing in to this Dialyn guide. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment on your thoughts on Dialyn and join the Discord. A special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members who make this content possible. If you wish to support me, you'll find a link to my Patreon in the description or click the join button right below this video. And as always, I appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. Enjoy the showcase. Peace. Oh, and because most people actually will ask about it, but I am kind of evil and then hence, just put it at the end during the outro so most people will not see it. That means I can generate more comments. Anyway, the difference between Jufufu and Dialyn is somewhere around 5 to 10k points, depending on how good you are and all of that, yada yada. Personally, my highest points with Jufufu has been 57 to 58k, and I killed with Dialyn, so take that as you leave. Anyway, enjoy the showcase. Peace!